The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with silence. Thousands of alien delegates sat in high towers of glass and crystal, their eyes glowing in different colors. At the very center stood the humans, a small group of leaders from Earth, facing judgment. The air was heavy, not with justice, but with hatred, envy, and fear. The High Speaker of the Council, a tall insectoid creature with silver wings, raised its staff. Its voice echoed through the chamber. Humanity is guilty of uncontrolled ambition, guilty of spreading too fast, guilty of threatening balance in the galaxy. The words cut deep, yet the humans stood tall. They had expected this day, but the cruelty of the sentence still burned in their hearts. "You will be stripped of your rights to travel freely among the stars," the speaker continued. "You will be cast out to the edge of the galaxy, to the forgotten regions, with nothing but what you can carry. Your star lanes are closed, your colonies dismantled, your name shall be erased from the archives of power." The council roared with approval, alien voices shouting in triumph. To them, this was victory. To humanity, it was a knife to the chest. Admiral Reyes, one of Earth's military leaders, clenched his fists, but did not speak. Beside him, Dr. Alara Voss, a scientist with sharp eyes, whispered, "They think they can bury us, but they have no idea what grows in the dark." Her words gave a spark of hope, even in that moment of despair. The council guards stepped forward, tall armored warriors from many alien races. They pushed the humans back toward their ship, forcing them to leave the chamber. Some aliens spat at them, some laughed, others simply looked away. But in those human eyes burned a fire that no decree could extinguish. As the transport ship left the council world, millions watched across the galaxy. Broadcasts spread images of Eos. Earth's leaders leaving in disgrace. Children on alien worlds were taught to cheer. The humans are gone, the threat is ended. But in the shadows, not everyone cheered. Among oppressed alien species, whispers began. They punished the humans, but the humans never give up. Maybe they will return. On board the flagship Endurance, the human leaders gathered in silence. No one wanted to speak the pain aloud. It felt like the end of history. Yet in the silence, voices began to rise, one by one. "We cannot give them what they want," Admiral Reyes said firmly. "They want us broken. They want us erased. But we will not die in the dark." Dr. Voss leaned forward, her eyes filled with steel. "We will go to the edge, yes. We will take what little we have left. But we will build again. We will rise again." A murmur spread through the room. Fear was still there. But beneath it, a dangerous resolve began to grow. The exile journey was long and bitter. Human fleets, stripped of supplies, traveled through hostile space. Many worlds refused to sell food or fuel, afraid of the Council's wrath. Some raiders attacked, hoping to finish what the Council had begun. But every time, humanity fought back, bloody and desperate. Every battle became a reminder. Survival would not be given. It had to be earned. Weeks turned into months. Finally, the fleets reached the silent regions, the far edge of the galaxy. The stars there were dim, the planets cold, barren, or strange. It was a graveyard of forgotten systems, the place where the Council threw those it wanted to vanish. But to humanity, it was not an end, it was a beginning. On one rocky moon, the first exiled colony was built. The people named it Haven, though nothing about it felt safe. Families lived in shelters of metal and stone, rations were thin, sickness spread. Yet even in hardship, humanity adapted. Children learned to grow crow. P.S. Under weak suns, engineers mined asteroids for resources. Soldiers defended the colony against marauders. Every day was a struggle, but every struggle hardened them. One night, as the exiled leaders stood on the cliff of Haven, Admiral Reyes looked at the stars. "They think they have destroyed us," he said, his voice low but steady. "But exile is not death. Exile is fire, and fire will forge us into something the galaxy has never seen." Dr. Voss placed her hand on the rough stone wall beside him. "They called us dangerous," she whispered. "Soon they will learn what true danger really means." Far above, the ships of humanity drifted like silent wolves, their lights glowing in the dark void. They were broken, tired, and scattered. But in their hearts, a promise was written. Humanity would return, and when they did, They would not return as servants of the council. They would return as something greater, something unstoppable. The exile had begun, but so too had the rise of a new empire, an empire that would one day shake the very throne that cast them out. The fleets of humanity drifted at the edge of the galaxy, scarred and broken. Engines groaned, hulls were patched with desperation, and supplies ran thinner each passing day. The sentence of exile had not killed them outright, but survival now stood balanced on a knife's edge. Every captain, every soldier, every family knew one truth. If they failed here, humanity would vanish forever. The flagship Endurance anchored above the rocky moon of Haven, its lights dim to save energy. Inside the war-scarred vessel, Admiral Reyes called his council together. Around him sat generals, engineers, scientists, and civilian leaders, all faces worn with hunger but burning with defiance. Maps flickered on the holotable showing empty star systems and hostile territories. "We cannot stay here with what little we have," Reyes said, his voice heavy but unshaken. "The council believes exile means death. We will prove them wrong. But to survive, we must move, we must scatter, we must rebuild." A silence fell over the chamber. The idea of splitting the last human fleets was terrifying. If separated, each group could be crushed. But Dr. Ilara Voss leaned forward, her eyes alive with a dangerous vision. "They expect us to die in the dark," she said softly. "So let us vanish into it. Let them think we are weak, while in secret we grow stronger." She tapped the holo map, revealing hidden systems untouched by the council, gas giants rich with fuel, asteroid belts heavy with metal, and dead worlds where no patrol would ever bother to look. "Here," she said, her finger hovering over the void, "we will build the seed of something greater, unseen, unstoppable." The council argued through the night. Some feared division, others demanded safety, but in the end, the choice was made. Humanity would scatter its last fleets across the edge of the galaxy. Each convoy would find a hidden system. Each would carve out survival, and each would swear the same vow. To return one day united, the order went out. Prepare to depart, prepare to vanish, prepare to defy the council's judgment. The final night on Haven was filled with sorrow. Families embraced in the dark. Children clung to parents, knowing they might never see each other again. Engineers worked without rest, patching ships with scraps, turning mining rigs into weapons, turning cargo freighters into makeshift carriers. Soldiers loaded the last crates of food, whispering to themselves that this was not an ending, but a march into destiny. When dawn rose on the barren moon, the sky was filled with fire. Hundreds of human ships ignited their engines, shaking the very crust of the world. People stood on the cliffs, watching as their last hope lifted into the heavens. It was not a glorious fleet, not like the armadas of the council, but it was theirs, born of exile, sharpened by pain, and bound by an unbreakable promise. As the convoys scattered into the void, whispers ran through the human channels. "This is not goodbye," a pilot murmured. "This is the beginning." Another voice answered, "The stars will remember us." Every crew carried the same vow in their hearts. When humanity returned, it would not be as beggars, but as conquerors. Weeks turned into months as the fleets disappeared one by one into hidden corners of the galaxy. Some found dead worlds with iron-rich cores where factories could be built in silence. Others discovered gas giants perfect for fueling hidden shipyards. A few stumbled upon strange ruins of lost civilizations, filled with secrets even the council had not uncovered. And every discovery was guarded fiercely, hidden from alien eyes, because one leak, one mistake, could bring annihilation. Yet even in exile, danger followed. Alien mercenaries hired by the council prowled the outer lanes, hunting for human stragglers. One convoy, led by Captain Idris Khail, was ambushed near a dying star. His ships were outnumbered, outgunned, but Khail refused surrender. Instead, he lured the enemy into the collapsing star's gravity well, sacrificing 2 freighters to trigger a chain of explosions. The hunters were annihilated, but Khail's fleet barely survived. Scarred, limping, yet still alive, they disappeared deeper into the void, carrying with them a story that spread like wildfire through human channels. Humanity would not die quietly. Back on Haven, Admiral Reyes stood alone on the cliffs, staring at the empty sky. Most of the fleets were gone now, scattered across 100 light-years. Only the faint glow of distant engines remained. like falling stars in the night. Ilara Voss joined him, her voice low. Do you think we will survive this gamble? Reyes did not look away from the sky. We have no choice, he said. They think they have ended us, but this is only the silence before the storm. High above, the last ship of the Endurance convoy prepared to depart. Its hull was battered, its crew exhausted, but its foresaw lag still carried the mark of Earth as its engines roared to life. Reyes whispered a final promise into the void. Run while you can, Council. We are not broken. We are only waiting. The ship vanished into the dark, and with it, humanity's exile became something far more dangerous than the Council had ever imagined. It became a seed scattered across the stars, each piece burning with fury, each piece growing stronger. The last ships had departed. But in their silence, a storm was gathering, a storm that would one day tear down the throne itself. Decades passed in silence, but silence was never empty. While the galaxy believed humanity dead or broken, the exiles worked in shadows. Hidden colonies grew like roots beneath barren stars. Shipyards bloomed in asteroid belts, and secret academies trained children who had never seen Earth but still carried its name in their blood. The Council had cast humanity into darkness, yet in that darkness, fire was born. In one forgotten system, a massive gas giant circled a faint sun. Around it drifted what looked like harmless mining stations, but beneath the shells lay something far more dangerous. Shipyards disguised from prying eyes. Here, Dr. Ilara Voss stood on a platform overlooking rows of newly forged vessels. They were not like the old warships of Earth, patched and broken. These were predators, sleek and silent, forged with human innovation and stolen alien technology. Engines ran hotter, weapons struck harder, armor grew thicker. Every ship carried not just steel but rage. Beside her, a young officer named Commander Joran Kale reported the progress. 6 new cruisers complete, Admiral. Another 3 dreadnought frames almost ready, he said. His voice trembled slightly, not with fear, but with awe. Ilara smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the glow of the burning engines. They thought we were finished, she said, but every day we live, we prove them wrong. Every ship we build is another nail in the Council's coffin. Yet even as humanity's hidden empire grew, danger stalked them. Whispers of human activity began to leak, carried by smugglers and mercenaries. The Council dismissed most reports as superstition, but not all. Soon, hunters were dispatched, shadow fleets meant to sweep the edges of the galaxy and crush any sign of human survival. One such fleet arrived near the Orion's grave system. Dozens of alien warships swept through, their banners carrying the seal of the Council. They expected to find scraps, maybe a dying colony. Instead, they found fire. Admiral Reyes, now older but unbroken, commanded the ambush. Human ships drifted cold and dark, hidden against the asteroid fields. The alien fleet moved in confident formation, shields low, weapons relaxed. That was their mistake. At Reyes's signal, the void lit up. Dozens of human vessels roared to life, engines flaring, weapons igniting. Missiles streaked through the dark, plasma cannons burned holes in alien hulls. The hunters never saw it coming. The first minutes were chaos. Alien captains screamed orders, but their formation shattered under the sudden fury. Human ships moved like wolves, striking, vanishing, striking again. One alien cruiser tried to retreat, but Commander Kale's ship cut across its path, tearing through its engines and leaving it drifting helpless. Within an hour, the battle was over. The hunters were destroyed, their wreckage burning silently in the void. But humanity did not simply win. They captured. Ilara Voss ordered teams to board crippled ships, pulling data cores, stealing alien tech, and taking prisoners. Every scrap of knowledge became fuel for their hidden empire. Weapons were reforged, shields improved, and drives upgraded. Each battle made humanity sharper, stronger, hungrier. Whispers spread again, but this time the galaxy listened. Merchants spoke of ghost fleets striking in the dark. Oppressed species heard rumors of humans rising from exile. Some laughed, some doubted, but for many, hope flickered. If the humans still live, they whispered, then perhaps the Council is not invincible. On Haven, the first colony still stood, though it had transformed. No longer a desperate camp of stone and scrap, it was now a fortress. Towers of steel rose from the cliffs, shields pulsed over the surface, and hangars brimmed with new vessels. Children trained in simulators, teenagers served as cadets. The exile had not weakened them, it had forged a generation that had never known peace. To them, survival was not enough, vengeance was destiny. One night, Admiral Reyes stood alone on the command deck staring at the stars. He was older now, scars lined his face, but his eyes still burned. Alara joined him, her hands clasped behind her back. "The council will come again," she said, her voice calm but heavy. Reyes nodded. "And when they do, they will not find the exiles they cast out. They will find an empire born in fire." A sudden alarm broke the silence. A relay satellite picked up a transmission. Council fleets were gathering near the border worlds. The debate had ended. Humanity's existence was no longer a rumor. The council was preparing to strike. But this time, humanity was ready. Across the hidden colonies, engines lit up, fleets gathered, weapons primed. Young soldiers raised in exile took their stations, eager for battle. The time for hiding was ending. The fire in the shadows was no longer a secret flame. It was an inferno. And soon, the galaxy would feel its heat. The council believed the rumors were small fires, whispers carried by smugglers and slaves. They laughed at the thought of humans returning from exile. But the laughter ended the day the hunters vanished without a trace. When their fleet did not report back, the council grew restless, and when wreckage drifted into the borders, torn apart by weapons no one recognized, fear began to spread. In the shadows of a dying star, humanity made their choice. Admiral Reyes gathered his commanders aboard the flagship Endurance. The room was dark, maps of enemy patrols glowing like veins of light across the void. "We cannot hide forever," Reyes said, his voice steady as stone. "If the council wants to hunt us, then let them learn the truth. We are no longer prey." Silence followed, but it was not silence of fear, it was silence of hunger. Every officer, every captain had waited for this moment. The order was simple, brutal, final: strike first. The target was a council fortress world known as Veyros. It was not the heart of their empire, but it was strong, a staging ground for fleets, a symbol of power. The council never imagined humans would dare attack it. That was why Reyes chose it. The human fleet moved like shadows, engines silent, hulls coated with dark alloys stolen and remade. Dozens of cruisers and frigates drifted through the black, each carrying the fire of exile in their hearts. Young pilots whispered to themselves as they strapped into their seats. "This is for Haven. This is for Earth. This is for every child who grew up in the dark." The fortress sensors detected nothing at first. Alien crews drank, laughed, confident no enemy would ever come. But then the void screamed. Human weapons lit up the sky, missiles streaked toward defense platforms, plasma lances cut through shield grids. The first line of turrets exploded before alarms even rang. The defenders scrambled, but it was too late. Commander Joran Kale led the vanguard, his ship cutting straight through enemy lines. "Strike fast, strike hard, leave nothing standing," he shouted, his voice like thunder in the comms. Human ships swarmed around alien cruisers, tearing into them with weapons forged in exile. The battle was not even, not balanced, it was slaughter. From the ground, alien civilians looked up and saw the impossible. The humans had returned. Not as scattered exiles, but as a storm. Their fleets moved with precision, each strike coordinated, each maneuver flawless. This was not a desperate people clinging to survival, this was an empire in the making. The fortress commander, a reptilian warlord, tried to rally his forces. "Hold the line! They are only humans!" he roared. But his words crumbled when a human dreadnought descended through the clouds. Its cannons lit the skies. Its engines roared like thunder. The fortress shields collapsed, and the ground shook as fire rained down. Within hours, Veyros was broken, its fleet scattered, its defenses shattered, its council banner torn from the towers. Human marines landed on the surface, securing the strongholds, freeing prisoners, and raising the old flag of Earth. For the first time in exile, humanity stood not as victims, but as conquerors. Admiral Reyes watched from the bridge as smoke rose from the fortress world. His face was calm, but his hands gripped the railing tight. "This is only the beginning," he said, his voice carrying across the command deck. "They wanted us gone. They wanted us erased. But today the galaxy has learned. Humanity does not fade. We return with fire. The victory sent shockwaves through the stars. Across distant colonies, slaves whispered the news. The humans are back, they said, their voices trembling with hope. Oppressed worlds raised their heads, daring to imagine freedom, and in the halls of the council, fear spread like disease. If the humans could strike Veros, what else could they do? But victory carried a price. Ships burned, soldiers fell, names were added to the long list of sacrifices, families mourned, but in their mourning they found strength. Every death became a vow, every scar a promise. Humanity would not stop, not now, not ever. In the hidden colonies, factories roared louder, shipyards lit the darkness. With the glow of new engines, children who had grown up in shadows now trained as warriors. The exile generation was no longer waiting, they were rising. The first strike had begun a war the council could never contain. High above the ruins of Veros, the human fleet regrouped, battered but unbroken. Admiral Reyes stood tall, his gaze fixed on the distant stars. The council thought exile would end us, he said softly. They were wrong. It made us strong enough to end them. The first strike was over, but the war for the galaxy had only just begun. The ruins of Veros still burned when word spread across the galaxy. The impossible had happened. The exiles, the forgotten humans, had returned in fire, and they had not only survived, they had destroyed a council fortress world. For oppressed races, it was hope. For smugglers, it was opportunity. For the council, it was terror. And for humanity, it was only the first step. On the hidden world of Haven, Admiral Reyes stood before a hall filled with officers, scientists, and civilians. The air vibrated with energy, not fear but determination. Behind him, the banners of Earth hung tall, scarred but proud. "We are no longer the outcasts," Reyes declared, his voice carrying like thunder. "We are the fire in the dark. We are the storm they cannot control. From this day forward, we are the throne breakers." The name spread like wildfire, whispered in the corners of slave camps, sung in secret by rebels, cursed in the halls of the council. Humanity had declared itself not merely an empire, but a weapon aimed at the throne itself. Dr. Ilara Voss led the next stage. She brought new ships, deadlier than before, their hulls laced with alien alloys, their weapons burning brighter than council plasma. But her greatest achievement was not ships, it was alliances. When humanity struck Veros, they freed thousands of alien prisoners, warriors, engineers, scholars, entire families who had suffered under council chains. At first these aliens feared humans, but soon they saw the truth. The humans were not conquerors, they were liberators, and for the first time, alien voices swore loyalty to Earth. Colonies fell one by one, not to destruction but to liberation. Human fleets arrived like storms, shattering council garrisons, tearing down banners and raising their own. Every world freed meant more recruits, more resources, more voices joining the throne breakers. An empire was no longer just forming. It was swelling like a tidal wave, but the council did not sit idle. Armadas gathered, fleets larger than anything humanity had yet faced. Old enemies united, driven by fear of one rising power. The council declared humans an abomination, a danger to order. Propaganda spread across the stars. Humanity must be destroyed before the galaxy burns. Reyes heard their lies and smiled coldly. "Let them fear us," he said. "Fear is the weapon they once used against us. Now it will be the chain that breaks them." The throne breakers struck deeper, targeting supply lines, cutting off trade, striking worlds the council thought untouchable. Commander Joran Kale became a legend, his fleet moving like a phantom, striking and vanishing before the council could react. Alien admirals cursed his name, calling him the Wolf of the Void. To humans, he was a hero, a symbol that no chain could hold them. One battle changed everything. At the world of Sayora, a council fleet 3 times the size of humanity's appeared. The council commander laughed, certain victory was his. But humanity had learned, had adapted, had grown sharper than steel. Using stolen tech and brilliant tactics, they lured the fleet into a narrow asteroid field. There, human ships weaved between rocks, using the field as cover, striking from angles the council never expected. Hours later, the council armada was gone, its wreckage floating silently, and humanity's banner flew above another freed world. For on that day, the galaxy stopped calling them exiles. They called them throne breakers. The name carried weight, fear, and hope. Yet even as victory spread, danger grew. Spies whispered that the council was preparing something vast. A grand war council had been called, bringing together the greatest fleets, the strongest commanders, the deadliest weapons. The council's pride had been wounded, but now it burned with rage. They would not allow humans to keep rising. They would crush them in one decisive war. On Haven, Alara Voss studied the intercepted messages. Her eyes glowed with both dread and resolve. "They are coming with everything," she said, her voice quiet. "But they forget. We have become everything they feared." Admiral Reyes stood beside her, his scarred hands pressed against the map of stars. "The day is coming," he whispered. "The day the throne itself trembles." Behind him, young officers, many born in exile, saluted with fire in their eyes. They had never seen Earth, but they carried it within them. They had grown not in peace, but in war. They were the throne breakers, and they were ready. The galaxy held its breath. The Council's armada gathered. Humanity's fleets sharpened their blades, and in the silence between battles, a storm was waiting to break. The throne breakers had risen, but now the question was not if they could fight. The question was, could they survive the coming war? The galaxy held its breath. For months, rumors spread like wildfire. An armada was gathering, the largest fleet ever seen. The Council had united species that hated each other, forged alliances through fear, and poured their wealth into one purpose: to destroy humanity once and for all. On Haven, the Thronebreaker leadership watched the intercepted transmissions. Thousands of enemy warships, dreadnoughts the size of cities, carriers loaded with endless fighters. The numbers were beyond belief. Even the strongest human fleets could not match them in size. But Admiral Reyes did not flinch. "They believe numbers win wars," he said coldly. "I forget what exile taught us. Wars are won by will, by fire, by strategy." Dr. Alara Voss stood beside him, her mind racing with plans. She had studied alien technology for decades, twisting it into something sharper. Now her weapons were ready. Experimental rail cannons, stealth drives, swarm drones forged in the silence of the void. "Let them come," she whispered. "They march into their own grave." The day came like thunder. The Council armada emerged from hyperspace above the world of Carrion. The system shook under their arrival, their war banners blotting out the stars. Council admirals boasted across the comms. "Humans, this ends now. Your empire dies today." But humanity had chosen Carrion for a reason. It was not just another colony. It was a trap. Hidden in the asteroid belts were minefields. In the gas giant storms were fleets cloaked in silence. Every inch of the system had been turned into a weapon. When the first wave of Council ships advanced, the void erupted. Asteroids exploded. Mines tore through cruisers. Hidden rail cannons shredded dreadnought shields. Then the human fleets emerged from the gas giant's shadow, engines blazing like fire. The battle had begun. The clash was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Alien formations tried to tighten, but the humans cut through them with speed and fury. Commander Duran Kale led the spearhead, his ships weaving through enemy lines, striking engines, shattering carriers. Every maneuver was precise, every strike devastating. The Council outnumbered them 3-1, but numbers meant nothing against fire born of exile. The Council responded with overwhelming force. Wave after wave of fighters filled the void, swarming like locusts. Human ships were battered, shields flickered, hulls cracked, entire convoys were lost, names burned into the lists of sacrifice. Yet even in loss, humanity did not break. Every destroyed ship bought time for another strike. Every fallen soldier lit the fire brighter. On the ground of Carrion's moon, human marines clashed with alien legions. The fighting was brutal, trenches carved into the ice, blood staining the frozen fields. But for every alien advance, humans countered with ferocity. Children of exile, raised in war, now faced the Council's finest and held the line. At the height of battle, the Council unleashed their ultimate weapon, a super dreadnought called Eternal Crown. A vessel so massive it dwarfed entire cities. Its cannons fired beams that ripped planets apart. The Council believed it would crush human hope in a single strike. But Alara Voss had prepared. From the shadows, hidden swarm drones activated. Thousands of small self-guided machines. They swarmed the eternal crown, slipping past shields, drilling into armor, tearing it from within. The council vessel roared like a dying god, its hull collapsing under the storm. When it finally exploded, the shockwave lit the void like a new sun. The council's pride shattered with it. Yet victory was not easy. Human fleets lay broken, thousands dead, ships reduced to burning husks, but the armada had been broken too. The council lost more ships in one battle than in a century of wars, and worse, for them, fear spread. From that day, the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity was not the prey, they were the storm. The Thronebreakers had stood against the largest armada in history, and they had not fallen. On the bridge of the Endurance, Reyes looked at the wreckage drifting in the void. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of destiny. They thought they could crush us with numbers, he said. But exile forged us into something numbers cannot kill. We are more than survivors now. We are the empire that will shatter the throne. The clash of empires was over, but the war for the galaxy was far from finished. The Council had thrown everything into one battle and failed, and now humanity stood ready to strike back, not as the hunted, not as the exiled, but as the future rulers of the stars. The battlefield of Carrion drifted in silence. Wreckage of alien dreadnoughts and human cruisers spun together, glowing with fire. The clash of empires had ended, but the war was not finished. Humanity had survived the impossible, and survival was no longer enough. Now, it was time to rule. On Haven, the first colony of exile, Admiral Reyes stood before the great council of humanity. Around him were not only humans, but alien leaders who had joined the Thronebreakers, freed slaves, former soldiers of the council, voices from 100 worlds. Once enemies, now allies, they gathered not in fear but in unity. Reyes's voice was deep, steady, filled with fire. The council tried to erase us, he said, but today, they are the ones fading. We will not stop, we will not bow. From the ashes of exile we rise, and from the stars we will build an empire greater than their throne. The chamber erupted with thunderous cheers. The vow of humanity had become the vow of the galaxy. The Thronebreakers were no longer just humans, they were a movement, a fire spreading from system to system, impossible to contain. Dr. Alara Voss stood at the edge of the chamber, her eyes shining with fierce pride. She remembered the day of exile when humanity had been broken and cast out. Now she watched fleets rise from hidden shipyards. She watched alien children wear Earth's symbol with honor. She whispered to herself, "They tried to bury us, but they planted a seed that grew beyond their reach." The final march began. Human fleets surged across council space, system after system falling. Not only by battle, but by rebellion, alien worlds rose against their masters. Inspired by the Thronebreakers, for the first time in centuries, the Council's throne itself trembled. In desperation, the Council gathered in their great chamber, the same place once. Ere humanity had once stood in chains, the High Speaker shouted, "This must end. Humanity must be crushed before all order collapses." But his voice shook, his wings trembled. He knew the truth. Order was already gone. The galaxy had chosen its new rulers. The human armada arrived at the Council's core world. Hundreds of ships blazing with fire, banners of Earth shining against the black. The Council's last fleet stood in defense. They fought with desperation, but not with conviction. Many surrendered, others fled, and some even joined the Thronebreakers. The battle was fierce, but the outcome was never in doubt. Humanity had come too far to be stopped. At last the Council's palace fell. Marines stormed the great hall where humanity had once been exiled. Reyes himself entered, his boots echoing on the crystal floor. The High Speaker cowered on the throne, his staff trembling in his claws. "You cannot rule," he hissed. "You are but outcasts. You are nothing." Reyes's eyes burned as he answered. "We were outcasts, yes, but exile forged us. We are the storm you could not kill, and today, your throne ends." The speaker tried to protest, but his voice was drowned by the sound of banners being torn down. The Thronebreaker flag was raised above the chamber, its symbol burning bright. For the first time, humanity sat not below the throne, but above it. When the galaxy saw the images, history changed. Slaves cheered, colonies erupted in celebration. and even the stars seemed to burn brighter. The humans had not only returned, they had remade the order of the galaxy, but humanity did not claim the throne in cruelty. Reyes stood before the assembly of new leaders, humans and aliens alike. Our empire will not be one of chains, he declared. It will be one of unity, one of freedom, one of strength. Together we will rise higher than any council. Together we will rule the stars. Silence followed, then a roar that shook the chamber. The galaxy had a new throne, and it was greater than the old. Years later, children born on freed worlds would ask their parents, "Who are the throne breakers?" And their parents would answer, "They were the exiles who returned. They were the humans who defied the galaxy. They were the fire that burned down the old order, and they became the rulers of the stars." The council had exiled Earth, but in their arrogance they had created something greater, an empire born not from power alone, but from defiance, unity, and unyielding will. Humanity had risen, humanity had conquered, humanity had become greater than the throne itself.